tips for measuring online success. So for this presentation, we're going to talk about why we should be measuring success, how to evaluate your website to know whether it's working or not, how to evaluate your business listing, as I mentioned in the first presentation, and then how to evaluate your ad campaigns. Sound good? So why measure success? Why would we measure success? Anyone? What's that? Yeah, so we can get better.
Basically, make sure you use your money wisely.
Yes, to make sure you're using your money wisely. Yeah, all these are good reasons why we want to measure the success of our ads. We want to know what's working, what's not, or not just the ads, but the websites as well. We want to see which channels lead people to our website, right? So let's say you're a member of the Better Business Bureau, and they've got a link to your website on their website, and people are using Google Analytics, you can see that you're getting traffic from their website to your website. Well, that shows that that's a good investment, or that's good, you know, or let's say you're doing stuff on social media. In Google Analytics, you can see the traffic coming from social media, from the different social networks, and start to gauge what's working and what's not. So those are some of the examples of channels that are driving people to your site. Understanding website and app performance. So if you have an app, you can also use Google Analytics and AdWords as well. But you want to understand what's going on with your website. Is it working? Is it not working? Is it taking too slow to load, too long to load? All of these are very important. Understanding your audience, right? I mentioned this before, like who's coming to your website? Is it who you want to be coming to your website, right? So as I said before, if you have a local business and you're getting traffic from some other place, maybe that's not as useful because you don't need to be reaching those people because they're not going to become customers. So understanding your audience, and then using the resources wisely, right? As you said. So making sure that if by doing this and seeing, whoa, email marketing is driving tons of people to my website and they're purchasing way more than I thought, then that means let's double down on email marketing, right? Or let's take what we're doing there and maybe replicate it elsewhere. So, but you have to be able to understand this stuff to move forward. So what to track and measure? It depends. It depends on your type of business. It depends on your website. One thing is you probably want to know how many people visit your website. Seems like a fair number that most people would want to know. Is anyone coming to my website? Yeah. Are tons of people coming to my website? Last month when we wrote a blog post about our 10 favorite restaurants in Murfreesboro, that drove tons of traffic to our site because we can see that spike due to that at that date. So how many people visit our website, who and where they are, how they found you. Did they find you on a Google organic search? Did they find you from an ad? Did they find you elsewhere? Maybe somebody shared a blog post that you wrote and they shared it on a social network, and then that social network drove traffic. You can see that. How much time they spent on your site, bless you. So this number, maybe your goal may be really a short amount of time or it may be a long amount of time. So if your website is to build your brand and to get people to know you better, maybe you want the time they spend on your site to be much longer. Maybe you have a video site or a media outlet, you work with a media company. You want people to spend a lot of time on your website. But if you're selling widgets on your website and you just want people to come to your site and make a purchase and be on their way, make it dead simple, bam, 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 then the time on site shouldn't be long. It should be really short. And if it is long, then maybe that's a problem. Maybe that's because the person that's coming to your site can't find what they're looking for. So what they looked at. Maybe you have products maybe you have an online store and certain products are getting looked at a lot more than others. Maybe it's time to do a sale, or maybe it's time to buy some ads and promote that product that's selling so well. Not just products, but also blog posts, as I said. So if you wrote a blog post like 5 things to do in Murfreesboro in the winter, and it was like one of your most popular blog posts, then maybe it's time to do 5 things to do in Murfreesboro in the summer. Or maybe it's something from Valentine's Day, as that example I made earlier. So what were they looking at on your site? And then what tasks did they complete? And some of those tasks might be making a purchase, of course. It might be, this gets back to the call to action, the CTA. You must have the CTAs. So what call to action is it? What do you want them to do when they come to your site? So what tasks are they completing when they come to your site? So are they signing up for your newsletter and contacting you? Or are they making a purchase and signing up for your newsletter? Like, all these things are important. Of course, it depends. It depends on your business. It depends on what you're trying to do with your website. So to track and measure what's going on our sites, we have integrated tools, standalone tools, and then last but not least, we ask our customers for feedback, right? So integrated tools, we've got Google My Business. I mentioned that obviously earlier. One thing that I didn't mention, and I'll get into that a little bit, is Google My Business actually has insights in the app or on desktop, so you can actually see insights on what's going on with your business. AdWords Express reports. So if you have AdWords and you're doing that, you can see reports on those AdWords to see what's working, what's not. And then email marketing reports. So if you're using email marketing for your business, looking at those open rates, looking at those click-through rates, seeing what's going on with your email. Standalone tools include Google Search Console, as I mentioned before. This tells you what's happening on your website. It tells you if you've got broken links. It tells you keywords that people are finding your website from. Google Analytics, as I mentioned earlier, and I'll talk more about that. And then Test My Site tool, as I said. You really want to use that tool to see how fast or slow your site is. And as I mentioned, last but not least, as I said, ask customers for feedback. How many people talk to their customers and ask them for feedback? Yeah, a couple, not too many. Okay. You should be asking your customers, whether you have an online business or whether you have a brick and mortar, find out, talk to your customers and ask them, how was everything today? How was the process? Were you able to make that purchase? Did you enjoy the pie? Whatever it may be, but talk to your customers. Also, talk to your customer service department too, if you have a customer service department. This is something I talk to my clients a lot about, is, if you're trying to develop content for your blog or for your website, talk to your customer support team and see what are the common issues customers are having, and that might give you an idea for content to create, right? So let's talk about evaluating your website, what to do here. With 3 ways: Google Search Console, Google Analytics, and then the Test My Site tool. Now, I've talked about Google Search Console. It does have some cool bells and whistles that I didn't mention before. Again, if you go to google.com/webmasters, you can go ahead and install this. It's not too hard. And again, guys, if you have questions afterwards and we don't get to them today, my business cards are right on the projector. Grab one, email me, and I'm happy to send you the presentation and answer questions. So why use Google Search Console? Well, as I said before, you monitor the performance of your website in Google, right? So you see how it's doing, and then you discover how Google and the world sees your website. So it gives you a nice little analytics dashboard. Ooh, little feedback. It gives you a nice little analytics dashboard to see, how many pages are people going to on your site, queries like searches they're doing to find your site. A good scenario for an example of using this would be a major site update. So after leaving this presentation, you decide to overhaul your site, and then you focus on different types of content, right? Because I've given you all these ideas, right? Infographics and blog posts and podcasts and all that good stuff. So let's say you're going to do that, and you're going to do a major site upgrade on your website. You can use Search Console to submit that new content, to let Google know, hey, I've got all this new content. Check it out. And you can tell Google's bots or the Google Spider to crawl your website and find that new content that you just published. You can also tell it not to find stuff. Anybody have a business where you Google your business and like an old page shows up and you're like, oh no, I don't want that one showing up. You can tell Google, I don't want that page showing up. And it can still function as part of your website, or be hidden in the background, but it won't show up in Google. So you can tell Google to hide pages from your site as well in Search Console. Another example is a new domain name. So let's say you decide to switch your domain name from Stacey's Bakery is the best bakery in California.com. It's kind of long. So if you have a really long domain name, maybe you want to buy a shorter one and like shorten that URL. You can use Search Console to access the change of address tool and point Google search to that new domain. So that makes it really easy to let Google know, hey, we've got a new domain, and do it through Search Console, and then it will index everything accordingly. I once had a website when I moved to Nashville called daveislearninghowtoplaytheguitar.com, which was ridiculously long, and also ridiculous that I was trying to learn how to play the guitar. I moved here, I didn't realize that everybody's a musician. Like everybody really is a musician. It's ridiculous. I worked for this tech company, there was 30 of us. We rented out the basement downtown for like a live music night, just to goof off. And so I was gonna do like karaoke or something because I can't play anything. And like everybody I worked with were like a gifted musician. Not just like country music, it was like punk and jazz, it was bizarre. But anyway, so daveislearninghowtoplaytheguitar.com was like ridiculously long URL. But so if you want to shorten it, this is a tool to use. You also may have new international content. So you may have customers in the US and Mexico. So you create content for these audiences, right? So you can tell Search Console that a certain section of your site is for international people from whatever country. So if there's different language there, different currency, depends on your business, of course, but you can do that in Search Console as well. So if you want to talk to my Canadian brothers and sisters, you can have a Canadian section on your site with maple leafs and U's in the words, things like that. So I've talked about Google Analytics a little bit. Remind me, how many people are using Google Analytics? Okay, so not too many. If you go to google.com/analytics, you can install it. It's pretty easy to install. Again, what this does is it's a powerful tool, and it's free, which is nice because it really it gives you that overview. It tells you what's going on in your website, bless you. It tells you how many people are coming to your site. It tells you, are they male, female? Like it really gives you this information so that you can know with certainty, okay, you know, my business of selling red dresses to women is getting way too many men and not enough women who buy the red dresses. So I've got to address that, right? Address that. See what I did there? And then measure the effectiveness of your online and offline marketing campaigns. So you can do that in Google Analytics. So you can see what's working. You can see what ads are driving traffic or driving revenue. You can actually measure that in Google Analytics if it's set up correctly. So highly recommend you do that. As I said before in the other presentation, if you leave here today, if you leave here today, no. When you leave here today, I highly recommend getting your business set up on Google Analytics and Google My Business as well. But Google Analytics, as I said, is so important because it will start giving you historic data today on what's going on in your website, so that if you leave here and say, Dave was nice, not going to do anything right now, maybe wait 6 months or a year or whatever, you'll at least have Google Analytics recording what's going on in your site so that when you do decide to do something, you can see the effects of it, the results. Does that make sense? The before and after. So why use Google Analytics? Develop a strategy, right? Because Google Analytics is going to give you, it'll give you insights into what's going on your site now. Like I said before, it'll tell you what content is already popular. So it can help you develop a strategy on content. And you can see what people are doing on the site. So if they're not contacting you and that's the main call to action, you can address that in your strategy. You can identify goals and key performance indicators or KPIs. I don't want to get too much in the weeds on this, but you can create, I'll get a little bit in the weeds, a little bit. So you could, like if you have, let's say your goal is to get people to sign up for your newsletter. If upon signing up for the newsletter, they end up on a thank you page that you've hidden in Google Search Console so that nobody can get to this page unless they've signed up for the newsletter. That's how they end up there. You can set that up as a goal in Google Analytics, and then you can measure how people are getting to that thank you page. So are they coming from an ad, going to your site, filling out the newsletter, signing up for the newsletter, and then landing on that thank you page? You can backtrack and see, oh, so those ads are really paying off, or those blog posts we're doing are really paying off because people are actually signing up for the newsletter as a result. Does that make sense? Okay. Collect data, of course, and then learn. Take action on the information that we're learning on the site in Google Analytics, because we've got all this information we can start to see. So let's say you have a business that is peer and is focused on Murfreesboro specifically. Let's say that you have people in Mount Juliet who are coming to your website suddenly, like a lot. That may tell you that you have a potential opportunity to do business there, open another location there. Maybe it's in Louisville, I don't know. But if you start to see different people, like people coming from different places, there's a reason why they're coming to your site. And so this may inform you, it may give you enough information to say, hey, we should consider opening another location there, or start doing an ad campaign targeting people there, right? So it's all about taking action on what we learn, right? So these are some other scenarios. So learn where sales come from. So Stacia's Bakery advertises online with search, display, and social media. It's working, but they want to know if they should spend more money or less money on ads. And using Google Analytics, there is a report in Google Analytics called acquisitions, and that will tell you which channels are driving people to your site. So acquisition shows you where they're coming from. Social media, organic search, paid ads, all of that stuff. Another scenario is understanding what works is to make the site useful for visitors with the help of SEO. Stacia's Bakery writes blog posts, they create videos, but they wonder if anyone reads those blog posts or watches those videos. And so in Google Analytics, you can see what's called behavior reports. And in behavior reports, you can see what people are doing on the site, how long they're there, what information they're consuming while they're on your site. And that's under the behavior reports. So acquisition, behavior, and then the checkout behavior. So Stacia's Bakery recently added an online store so people everywhere can order their famous desserts. They want to make sure it's easy for people to place orders. And so using Google Analytics, you can see the checkout behavior analysis report and learn how people are buying things on your site and checking out. Also in that, you can learn how people are abandoning the cart. So you've all done this where you buy something online and you're like, I don't know, and you're gonna wait a minute and maybe forget about it, and it's sitting in the cart, and then maybe you don't buy it later because you realize I don't need that. That's abandoning the cart, right? So you can see, if it's set up correctly in the checkout behavior, you can see that people are abandoning the cart. And if they're abandoning the cart, that's a red flag, right? They're getting so close to making that purchase, but for whatever reason, they're not doing it. And so it's up to you to decide, is the price too high? Is it, what's going on? Why are people not purchasing? And the Test My Site tool, I talked about this before. If you go to testmysite.thinkwithgoogle.com, this is that site that I mentioned, which will tell you how fast your website is loading on a mobile device. So definitely do this. I mean, you could do this today, before you go. Just do a quick search and see how fast your website is loading. Because if it's loading slowly, that's a big, big problem. Because more than 50%, it's actually like 60% now, of US web traffic is coming from smartphones or tablets. Remember I told you at the very beginning, when I worked with my clients, back in the day working with clients, I was saying we've got to think about mobile in the future. Like it's something that's coming. It's here, right? And it's only gonna increase. So people are just, and you know yourselves, right? You make purchases on your phones. You surf the web on your phones. You do email, of course, on your phones. It just, that's the way things are heading. So people are doing much less on desktop. Again, in Google Analytics, you can see the traffic coming to your site and whether they're coming from desktop or mobile. You can even see what device they're on. You can see what browser they're using if that's important to you. So it depends on the industry. Some industries, my father-in-law works in the steel industry, and they still get tons of traffic from desktop. They also get tons of faxes, so that's still a thing. So it depends on the industry, right? And then 50% of consumers who conduct a local search on their smartphones visit the store within a day. As I mentioned before, right? If you're hungry when you're leaving here, although you shouldn't be because there's cookies, delicious cookies. But if you want to make a quick purchase with your phone, or you want to find something on your phone rather, gas station, I'm on empty. Oh, there's one down the road, okay. You're gonna go there, So what can we learn? So how quick is the site? Nearly half of all visitors will leave a mobile site if it doesn't load in 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3, gone. Have you ever abandoned a website on your phone because it didn't load? Right? You give up. I do it. It's probably more like 1 second with me. It's like, really? Come on, no. So nearly half of all visitors will leave. So if you have something that you're doing with the website for your business, like selling stuff or trying to grow your email newsletter or any of these things, they're not going to do that if the site is loading slowly. So mobile is here, and it's very important. How does it compare? So people are 5 times more likely to leave a website that isn't mobile friendly. That's beyond the load time. That just means if they get on your website and the font's all small and they can't, and you've seen it yourself, where you go to someone's website and the text isn't big enough and you're trying to make it bigger and that's not working, you're like, forget it. And then how fast can it be? Reducing load time can also help you keep more customers, more visitors. So they'll return to your business and they'll spend more time on your site. So let's talk about evaluating your business listing, because now on the break you all created your business listings, right? You didn't. It's okay. I know you didn't really. But what is Google My Business? As I said, we've talked about this, so I'm not going to get into it too much. But as I said, you can on desktop or on tablets, on mobile, just having your business on there, using images, using updates, those posts I was telling you about, all that stuff is really important, because when somebody Googles you, that will load really quickly, right? So even right now, if your site is really slow or kind of old, and you don't have time right now or the resources or the money or whatever to upgrade your website, getting your Google My Business listing up to snuff is a great thing to do, because that will load pretty quickly as well, right? And 3 things you can learn and do. How did customers search for your business? So how did they find your business? And you can look, as I said, in that app, you have insights. So you can see how customers search for your business. You can see actual direct, or like people actually entering your URL, or people that are searching for your business or the type of business that you're in and finding you there. Where do customers view your business info? All right, so again, this is really handy. You can actually see, whether they're doing it on their phone, on their desktop, and then what actions did the customer do with your business info? Did they come to your store? Did they call you? I'll walk you through that, actually. It's pretty interesting. And there's some in here. But there's now a phone number, so you can actually set up a phone number. So if somebody clicks the phone number, it gets redirected to your phone if you have that activated, which is great. So, and again, that gets into that dashboard, so you can see I'm getting phone calls. So how to evaluate your ad campaigns? Again, on Google, the top things that you see are typically ads, and they have a little green box that says ad. Or they say sponsored. So the ads are usually at the top of the results. So if you're doing advertising with Google AdWords Express, you can get those placements. Now, I mentioned before, we talked on the break a little bit, you know, if anybody says organically, I can get you to #1 on Google, ixnay, run away. You know, there's plenty you can do to help increase your search results, help improve your organic search results for your website. A lot of what I've been talking about here today. Doing this stuff will help. You know, optimizing your website, creating great content, all this stuff will help improve, but nobody can say with certainty that you'll be #1 in Google. So you can track performance in the app as well. You can see ad views, so how often your ad is being shown. You can see on Google Maps as well, or on Google searches. You can see ad clicks, how often the ad was clicked. Obviously an important metric. And then, as I said, phone calls, how often you receive phone calls from those ads. So if you own a restaurant, people are calling you from the ad, you know they're calling you to make a reservation or to see if you're open. So this is a look at the dashboard with ad views. And you can see like the devices they're using. You can see the Google sources. The Google partner sites are the ad network. So like I mentioned earlier, where you can buy an ad if they have Google ads on like local television's websites or on a news website or partner website, you can make ads appear there. Ad clicks, so you can see the clicks that your ads are getting. And then call reporting. So if you turn on the verified calls in the app, you can actually get this set up so that people can call you directly from your ads, directly from your Google My Business listing. And you can actually measure and see the results of that. And bonus, it connects to Google Analytics. So it all ties back into Google Analytics, which is like the mothership dashboard that really shows you what's going on in your site, which is why I keep urging you to use it on your sites. And so what's next for this one? What are the next steps, right? As you know, some of this is from the first presentation, but go to google.com/webmasters, create that account and install it. Go to Google Analytics, create your Google Analytics account and install that. If you can't do it, email me, I can help you, or if you can talk to a webmaster or someone. And then gybo.com/AW Express is Google AdWords Express. So you can start experimenting with that. One tip on this too, as you're creating content, is Google AdWords Express will give you keywords suggestions for your business. And if you start using those keywords, you can start thinking like if they're really working well in Google search results or in advertising results, you could start creating content based on those keywords. So if it's land clearing, then you could start using those words in the blog posts that you write. Does that make sense? And Google have free lessons. If you go to gybo.com/lessons, you can take lessons to learn this stuff on your own speed, over your lunch break or morning coffee or after the kids go to bed. When will they go to bed? Maybe that's not possible because they're 11 and 12 and up all night. Sorry. Talking about home, kids. And that's it for that presentation. So thank you.